Coaches, good morning and welcome to Mastermind Monday. My name's Coach Will Robbins, the founder of RGX, and I'm here every Monday to help you to take your business to the next level, ensure better results for your students, and impact your facility in positive ways through group coaching and focusing on how to get results for your players. So today I'm looking forward to taking you on a journey that I went on this summer with Joey, one of my students, and talk to you about the step-by-step process that I took him through to take him from shooting in the mid to high 90s to shooting 81 with a back nine of 39 and backing that up again with another 39 on his next 9 holes. So on this journey, I want to go ahead and take you through exactly what I did and show you all the things that I think about and try to take out the way so that I can get out there and coach and be what he needs me to be, which is someone who can ask great questions, support him on his journey, and ensure that I guarantee his results. So let's first of all start off with questions. As always, I love to start the week with a question. Now you're going to look at that video, but we're going to wait to look at the swing until I tell you a little bit more about Joey. First and foremost, he called me. It was a PGA lead that came in saying, Coach, I need you to fix my driver. My problem is my driver. My problem is the tee shot. And my problem is the long irons. I need help. Secondly, his biggest thing is, look, I have no control over it. It's not just I've got a one-way miss. My ball flight is everywhere, okay? And so I want to be asking you right now, what would you be thinking about? What would you be doing in this situation? How would you be changing it? The next one was, he said to me, Will, I shoot between 85 and 90. Now, remember, you've always got to take things with a grain of salt. You're not sure if it's true, but you're getting information. The next thing I heard is, listen, I'm in college. I took up the game a couple of years ago. I love playing with my dad. I just want to have more fun playing the game. I'd love to shoot in the mid to low 80s. And then finally, let's go ahead and take a look at the swing. Now, what I want you to do here is be honest, and I want to challenge you to think about someone's calling you, asking for a swing fix. Okay, they're looking for a 1-hour lesson. They're looking for you to fix their driver. And then let's just say you didn't go down the process that I went down, which I'm going to show you. I got them out for a game assessment, but you got on the driving range of the golf course and you saw this. So I'm going to go ahead and just start by saying, look at that right-handed grip. That to me is a very strong right-handed grip. As you can see here, his shoulders are down, you know, his grip is, and now look at that from side on. I'm sure many of you would be thinking right now, you've got to change that grip right away. You can't teach this guy how to score. You can't help him shoot lower scores. It's an injustice to the golf industry. As a PGA professional, you need to fix that grip. Well, I'm challenging you to say, no, I didn't fix that grip. No, I did not. Because what I want to do is show you how to listen deeper, understand more about your player, so you give them what they actually want, not what they're asking for. Because what Joey really wanted, and as I show you through this process, is he wanted to have more fun playing the game of golf. He wanted to shoot lower scores. He wanted to be able to challenge himself on the golf course and maybe make some bets and win some money off of his buddies. He didn't want to go through a 6-month program to change his grip and change his impact position and get better ball striking. To me, the questions I asked him, as you see as I go through this process, showed me that what he really wanted to do was have more enjoyment. He was a very laid-back kid who had a lot of fun and just was enjoying the day when we were out there playing. And so from the steps that I go through, you're going to see here how I decided to get him to that goal of 81. And yes, down the road, we might go ahead and he might say, Will, I want to shoot. Now that I trust you, I want to shoot lower scores. I want to break 75. And maybe we need to address that grip. But the first thing that we've got to do is start to understand our player. So for the first thing that I did, and please, like I said, take a ton of notes here. And again, I hope I'm not going to come across in a way of any pride. I'm just showing you, this is how I think when I see somebody coming to me for a golf lesson saying that they want a fixed driver. So for the first thing that I do, so on May 26th, the PGA Coach Profile lead came in. And the first thing I did was get on the phone with them. Okay, I am not going to email them a response. I know I can use messaging through it, but I'm not going to. I want to talk to them. I want to get to know who they are. That's the most important thing for me, because I want to start to listen to what they're telling me. I want to understand the words that they're using, understand who they are as a person, even if it is on the phone. Okay, I'm going to unpack a whole bunch of questions. So the questions I'm going to start asking him telling me more about it, but he doesn't know how to fix his game, right? So I'm just going to start to get into what does he want to achieve? What are his goals? What is he hoping to accomplish? How much time does he have? Start to get him thinking about a bigger picture, because I want to become the expert, right? At the moment, he's the expert. He's telling me what his problem is, and he wants to pay for me to fix it. And so right now, I'm not in control of that situation. So as I go from there, it always jumps forward one. I have to clarify. Now, this is one of the biggest things that we work on in macro, one of the sales training that we do, which is clarifying with someone, which is saying to them, is pretty much just repeating what they said. So what I heard you say is, your driver is the biggest problem. And if you could fix your driver, you truly believe you could shoot in the low 80s. Am I hearing you right? Yes. Okay. But I'm also hearing that you don't know how many putts you have around, and you don't know how many balls you lose around. Is that correct? I'm starting to make sure that they're listening to what they're telling me. So I think the first process as a coach is to make sure when you're in, that lead comes in, is to understand what that person thinks is their problem, what they would like their goal to be. And then from there, simplify it down and invite them out to an on-course assessment. So at that point, I said to him, look, Joey, I don't do what most pros do. I'm not going to just fix your swing. I'd like to get to know your whole game. I'd like to go and play golf with you. I'd like to put you under a little bit of pressure. You're going to come out and play with a couple of the guys and myself, and we're going to see how it works. I'm going to play 9 holes, and afterwards, I'm going to go ahead and build a plan for you. Does that sound good? And right away, he's like, yeah, I'm in. That sounds great. I'd love to do that. I've never heard of that before. So on June the 4th, Joey comes out for his assessment on course. So we hit a few golf balls on the driving range. Javier start to see his ball flight, he's got a nice swing. He's got a nice move through it, but an insanely strong grip. I mean, I can see, like 14 knuckles on his right hand. And so I'm seeing what's happening with the ball. But again, I'm just seeing how he's relating to the other people in the group, how nervous he is, and sort of what he's got going on the range. And then we head out to the golf course. And the first thing I want to do when I get on the course is observe. I am not there to fix people in a playing assessment. I'm there to understand how they think, how they play, how they handle their pressure, how they handle the situation. And so in observation, I'm just starting to take account of what club he's grabbing on the first tee, with hazard on the left, trouble on the right, and grabs driver, right? So I'm not going to tell him to hit an iron, because that would be my input. I want to see how he goes ahead and plays the hole. And so as we go through this process, I'm observing, and then I'm questioning. I'm asking, hey, why did you play that shot? What was your target? And we've all done this, right? We're starting to get into their head and see what type of a caddy are they? Like, why are they picking that club? Why are they aiming at that target? Do they expect to make that putt? So as I gather that data, the final part to it is I want to quantify. I want to start to understand and measure some things. So in that round, what I'm doing is I'm tracking their putts, how many putts they're having, how many lost balls or penalties they're having. Okay, and then we'll talk about it here in a bit. Is I'm going to start using the scoring method. I'm just going to start to check in on how many times was he in the scoring zone, and I'll talk about that in a bit. And how many times did he get down in 3 or better? So I have to have some data, because if I don't have data, it's going to be really, really difficult for me to convince him that I should lead his golf game. And so the biggest one that I have for them is when we look at how many shots it took you to get into the scoring zone and how many shots it took down in the scoring zone. And as I said, I'll get into that here in a bit. So as I go through this process, we get done. Now, this is back in June. We were still in not lockdown, but masks, can't go in the restaurant. So we finished up, fist bump, and I said, okay, listen, I'll give you a call and get on Zoom. So at this point, that next day was pretty cool, because he sent me a quick text and he said, Will, that hybrid chip shot was crazy cool, because down the last couple of holes, I'm seeing him pull out lob wedge from everywhere around the fringe. And I just said, look, have you ever chipped with a hybrid before? It wouldn't be a bad idea. And, he started to, implement it within a day of me doing that. Because, June 6th, it was June 4th that I gave him the playing assessment. So I can see he's going to start communicating in a good way. And so on the Zoom call, the improvement plan, I feel like I now have the data, right? I've got the information. I got where he wants to go. I understand where he's at. I've quantified it. And on that is about refining. Now, hopefully some of you, did you guys all see the video? Give me a thumbs up if you saw the video connected to this presentation, because if you didn't, I need to explain it. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up, or on the chat box, just give me a thumbs up. So basically in here, he says, well, he shot an 81, but he's like, I wasn't shooting in the mid 80s when I came to Will. I didn't realize I had to add up every putt and count penalty strokes. So I was shooting much more like in the high 90s. So we had to refine that he was not shooting 85 to 90. He was shooting 95 to 100 because he didn't understand if you hit it OB, you tee off the tee box again. And if you hit it in a hazard, there's a stroke penalty and you're not allowed to give yourself 6 foot downhill sliders. And so the first thing is to get very clear on where their game actually is. Let's refine where you're at. Second of all, I want to go ahead and I actually want to put a plan in place. And so for me to get buy-in, the reason why I believe a student is going to get better very quickly is they understand the concept of what's about to happen to them. And they're not going to fight that they're not working on driver. The first thing I told them is you're not going to hit driver this summer because I'm going to take it away from you because you don't need it. And you're never going to hit a lob wedge if you're ever around the green because you shouldn't be hitting that club. And I was giving him this plan of, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get you off the tee box safely, and then we'll develop a 3-wood or a 5-wood or he actually ended up with a 2-iron that he could hit pretty far and keep it in play. And one day you might get to driver, but you're not using driver anymore, okay? And so I put that plan out in front of him and got that buy-in, because what I want to get early on is if somebody by this time is fighting me, I've done a really bad job in the playing assessment, because usually they fully are on board with what I'm believing in, but I want to make sure they understand the plan so they have clarity. And then I'm looking for the commitment, because this is saying, look, you're going to practice this way. You're going to use the workbook. You're going to track your rounds. You're going to send me texts. Are you on board with me? And it's on that point that I'm going to offer them to get into a coaching program, because again, it's more of a long-term approach. But if they're not willing to commit or get on board, why do I want them? I mean, they're not going to do the work anyway. They're not going to practice. They're not going to get any better, and it's going to suck for me. I'm looking to help my brand grow. I'm not looking for the short-term money to come in. So with this said, I'd love to I'm going to read some of the notes, and I'd love some questions, thoughts, feedback, if you guys just want to type them in. Okay, Chad, I'd ask questions about the long-term goals, maybe ignore technical. He probably just watched 100 YouTube videos. Yeah, there you go. This winter, I get him indoors and change his technique. Tom, yeah, exactly. Sorry, Tam. In July, August, golfers are playing a lot and should play with what they have. Playing lessons are best until there's time to change things. Yeah, I agree with that in terms of using that winter. So what else? Everyone, throw in some questions into the chat box. You can unmute yourself. Any comments, questions on these first 3 steps of what we've done here, from, asking questions, assessing, to building a plan? What does the plan look like? So Spencer, you can go into, just because you're an RGX coach, I'll tell you this, is that go in and you can watch me doing the Zoom meeting with him. So it's literally me going through the plan. I've got it on my iPad. I'm sharing the screen with him and I'm going step by step through. This is what I think we need to do with your putting and chipping and pitching and irons. And here's your goal and here's a timeline. So you can see that whole process. All of his videos are in there. So you'll see him from every coaching session he came out to, well, the 4 of them. So Dave Lepore, love how you found us thinking into a commitment. Yeah, absolutely, right? I mean, get them to commit. And if they're not willing to commit, my suggestion is don't put them into your program that you want to elevate and show the world, right? I mean, you might still teach them privately because you might want the money, or you might put them in another program, but don't put them into your platinum version, right? Kevin, is the secret to get him an easy win quickly, so either the driver straight or lower scores without it, then you have buy-in? Yeah, Kevin, exactly, right? I want him to have success. I know he's in college. He's a very clever kid. He's doing engineering, and I know he wants to go back and have fun with his buddies and play golf. I know he doesn't want a better grip. He wants to get the ball in play. So I want to go ahead and, yes, get him confidence that at some point he's going to say, well, I want to shoot 75. And it's like, we need to address that grip, because it's going to be very difficult for you to play with that grip as strong as it is, like Jim Estes was saying, And so now that we've had those strokes come down, he's got confidence, he's willing to start to make those changes, but his mental game and his short game is so good that he'll still, even if he starts to spray it a little bit, he should still be able to hit in the low 80s. And so that will give him confidence through that journey. So as we go through this, we're now going to go into this second playing session. So he comes out on June 10th. This is a week later. And we go out there and we start to talk about the scoring method. So what I'm doing here is, in that first session, he's realized that I think he shot a 49. You'll see on the video, right? But it's taken him I think he took 18 shots to get into the scoring zone, and it's taken him 31 to get down inside the scoring zone. So I'm like, you can't have a long game problem if it took you 31 shots to move the ball less than 300 yards. You have a short game problem, you have a scoring problem. And so he started to understand this, but at this point, I want to help them to start to understand, how do you keep the ball in play at all costs? We've got to get away from thinking of greens and regulation and trying to make a par. We've got to think about, how do we put the ball in a position to score, and then how do we score from that position? And they picked it up very quickly. You'll see the video with Brad himself and Gary that are in there, and they picked it up really quick. It's very simple. We're just doing checks and X's, and they're starting to understand the gamification of golf. So instead of trying to play for a score, it's just play the first game, get to the scoring zone. That's it. Don't do anything else. And then once you're there, let's play the next game. And in doing that, I start to sort of sprinkle in the 10 keys to scoring. And the reason why I do this is that I want them to start to get foresight. So many of my players have great hindsight. Crap, I shouldn't hit driver. Oh, I should have hit a 7-iron instead of an 8-iron. Oh, I shouldn't have hit that birdie putt so hard. I didn't know it was downhill. I want them to have the foresight of, probably not a good hole to take a driver. Let's take the trouble out of play and hit a 7-iron. And this is a quick downhill putt. Let's lag it down there. And so what I want them to start to do is understand, before they hit golf shots, how do you choose the right golf shot? How do you become a good caddy? And so in this process, there's not a whole lot of information that's being thrown at them. It's just, again, I ask them a question, they give a response, and we start to look at the logic behind their response. And so in that session, he came out, we had a good time out on the golf course, some good banter going on. And then I get this. So this is on the 11th. So this is a day later. Hey, coach, I did a great today playing 9 holes at Morgan Creek, shot a 44. So this is a real 44, okay? Like, this is an actual 44 break, sort of breaking 90 if you did it twice, right? But what I see here is he's now started to understand the language. He started to understand, because I can see on his scorecard, he's got the checks, he's got the X's. So this to me is exciting, right? Because what I now look for is communication. So for me, some of you guys, there's all sorts of tools you can use, okay? But for me, it's easy, right? They're going to find me a text. And what I'm looking for is literacy. Okay, and what I mean by that is I can see he's actually using the scoring method checks and X's, right? So I can understand it. And he's talking in the same way that I would, right? From there, I see progress in terms of, I'm starting to pick up that he's actually implementing what I'm coaching. And because of that, he's actually starting to get better. And then from there, this whole point of accountability that I said, look, you got to commit to me, and I expect you to keep me updated with your scores, because if not, I can't help you. And so now I'm starting to see that process, that he's actually getting into that. Question here from Peter, Chad Fina, how do you convince someone to buy a $25,000 coaching program, whether it's sports business? Yeah, that's a good question for Chad. I want the answer for that. That's next week's Monday Mastermind, Chad. So with that said, we then came out, and I realized I put 3 on-course sessions. The 3rd on-course session was actually when he did the video, and he was heading back to school last week. So it was actually only 2 coaching sessions on course, and then just 1 off-course session together. And we filmed the whole thing, and we just went through basically from the 1-putt, 2-putt circle, chipping circle, and then getting on the golf course. On the driving range. And so this was off course. And we just discussed what training versus practice was. This idea of train hard, right? I'm teaching him how to play easy, get on the golf course and take the trouble out of play. And when you train, make it really, really difficult, and make sure you track it, and make sure that you're putting pressure on yourself to get comfortable. And so we talked about testing versus drills. And see, these are just concepts you'll see in the videos that it's just like, look, if you understand how you've practiced in the past, which is just hitting 50 balls and get on the first tee box and hit 1 with a pencil in your back pocket and a scorecard and people watching you and OB left, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually transition those skills onto the golf course. And so going through this process, we go ahead and we show them how to track, and then that converts from the scorecard to the practice card. And so these are the 3 sessions that we did with him. So if I was to highlight them, it would be along the idea of, in the first assessment, it was really having him start to think a new way by asking a lot of questions, but not telling him a lot. In the second coaching session, it was going ahead and giving him a system, a path that he could follow to start to measure his own game against his own game and his own ability rather than par. And then finally, it was how he was going to practice off of the golf course to start to see the results that he'd like to see on the golf course. So this is June 27th. So a week later, he went off, I think, to Arizona to go and play some golf with some buddies and said, hey, coach, I've been playing pretty well lately. And thanks to the putting practice. So we were working heavily on lag putting. I shot 89 at Wood Creek and a 39 at Cordova. Only played 9 holes recently. So that was really cool to see. And then on the July the 20th, hey coach, played great. Played Lincoln Hills Orchard from the Blues for a bit of challenge. Yeah, the Blues at the Orchard, it's a long course. Shot an 81. What was super cool was the back 9 was a 39. And then down here, haha, sure coach, because I asked him for the testimonial, definitely exceeded the 10-stroke guarantee. So what's cool here is going back to his swing, right, and looking at that grip and how easy it would have been for me to say, yes, you need to change that grip. And yes, I'm an expert at doing that, but understanding more of what he wanted. And then the last text I got from him yesterday, because I on Friday, I would make sure he actually was okay with me sharing this. So I'd asked him, but I was just wanting to double check. And he said, I'll just read it out to you really quickly. He goes, oh, and I want to let you know, I won every bet I made with my friends when I came back and played with them, thumbs up. Because I told them, you're going to take all your buddies' money. Don't tell them you've had any coaching sessions. So it was really cool to see him really now loving the game of golf, playing the game of golf. And when he comes back at Christmas or Thanksgiving or next summer, maybe his goal is to break 80, and there'll be a whole completely different series of questions and clarifying, and then we'll quantify it in a different way and build a different plan and go for that goal. So I'm going to dive in right here on Jimmy Estes. Jim, what are your thoughts on what we've done here and your thoughts and feedback? I'm going to unmute you. There we go.
Yeah, so no, I like the way, especially I think, and it takes experience to really do this. It's not giving them any answers, but asking open-ended questions to let them come to the realization that, hey, their thought process needs to change. And I like how you said you sprinkled in the keys to scoring. Like, does he get out of trouble well? Does he have a lot of penalty shots? Does he start off poorly? Does he take too much risk? You know, does he read lies well? All that sort of thing you sprinkle in there. And then that culminated in, so really you didn't overcoach him. And I got a couple of kids that I hired this year, and they overcoach. They spend too much time telling the guy what they know, and it's a waste. It really adds confusion to the whole process. So I like how you did that. You didn't overcoach him at all. You let him figure it out.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that what you say there, Jim, was, the overcoaching, and that when we get into coaching to begin with, we feel like we've got to get a lot of information across. And I think really as you mature at this, it's like, no, I just need them to get a lot of results. That's what I want. And to do that, I have to sort of take myself out of the equation. This is not Will that did this. This is Joey that did this. I was just there to guide them. And this is where you hear me say, right, is that the scorecard and the games, that's the coach. I'm there to facilitate learning. So I've got to put them in an environment where we're moving at a good pace. We're on the golf course. We're having a good time. They're connected. They know what they're doing, and let the game take control of it, And so that's just a big fun, like the fun part of it is that you're not worried about if they get better or not. You're just giving them a space to improve. And if they don't improve, you just start asking more questions.
I had one question, Will, on the maturation process. How did his club selection change from the first playing lesson? Did he change to a different club off the tee, or did he learn how to hit it better, or what?
Yeah, so he went to 5-iron. So we basically, in that first playing session, I was like, what can you definitely get in play? And he got to 5-iron. And then by the second, actually, it wasn't by the second session. After that second session, he's like, coach, I found this driving iron. And it's like a 2-iron driving iron. And he was hitting it at about 220. I mean, they were bullets because his grip's so strong, right? I mean, they were bullets. But the thing is, when the ball's low, you can't lose it unless it's hooking hard, right? So he was stinging him along. And then he even said to me, he's like, coach, so what I do is if I get to a hole that's really open, I can take a driver because I know I can't lose a golf ball, but that's when I'm going to hit a driver. But if it's in a tighter hole, I use this one. And then if it's really tight, I hit a 5-iron. So you could just see he'd embraced it and not fought it. And sometimes I got students that are in the same group who will still fight it, right? And so then you've got to find different games to play to prove to them, or for them to prove to themselves that it doesn't work the way they're doing it. So then they embrace hitting a hybrid or a 5-iron off the tee until they get what we call first gear in place. And then you go for second gear and third gear and fourth gear.
Got it.
Yeah. Dave DePula.
Yeah, I don't mean to make this about me, but I put myself through that basic thing. I mean, how many times did I did this, the 72 hole challenge and did all the, I mean, I was like a master at under clubbing, right? And I would hit 6 greens, maybe 7 greens around and be a 6 handicap. Now I'm a plus 0.8 because I've done exactly this for me. Now I know it works for me. It can work for somebody else. And for me, that's what I really needed to do. So now when someone comes to me, we do this, have to.
Yeah, and I love that. I think, Dave, that's a really cool point. Whether you're Jimmy Estes playing on the Champions Tour and doing the stats and showing them, or Dave going from a 6 handicap to a plus 0.8, when you can actually show your students that this helped me to start to breathe on the golf course and start to simplify things down, and I took out the doubles and the triple bogeys and the worry and the frustration, people can truly buy into it. Because a lot of people go, oh, it's just for high handicap golfers, and I'm like, no, it's just a method just to get you better. You know what I mean? Like, it's depending on what level you're at is where you're going to move to. So I mean, that's one of the beauties of this, is that it works best when you're using it yourself. And one of the fun things that we've got right now is I've got 2 new coaches that are at WR Golf, and we are training them both in the scoring method. And they're young coaches, but they're really good players, which means as we improve their game, they'll be able to get out on the golf course and coach this with ease without 25 years of experience of teaching the swing and teaching the game and having all that knowledge, because they're asking the right questions and they're using a system to help the student get better, and not having to jump in there and think they have to have all the answers, which so many of us often think we have to have the answer. In my experience,
One more thing, Will. Like, I'm like everybody else because I'm human. I was like, okay, when I have the perfect golf swing, I'll be a plus handicap. And I was always constantly working on my golf swing. Then I do the scoring method and all the stuff that you teach. Then I did a little tweak and now I'm hitting 12, 13 greens, but now I know how to score. And if I get in trouble, I'm in first gear versus trying to, I haven't had a double bogey probably in, I don't know, 10, 12 rounds.
Love it.
And I'd always have them because I'm always trying to do something stupid. Now it's totally different. Now I can help people.
Yeah, I love it. So with that said, everybody, there's Joey. Him and I having a good laugh last week before he went back off to college. And so, yeah, it was a great journey and it's been a lot of fun. And so for those of you that haven't started a journey yet, that want to become one of these stories, have these types of success, please, let's hop on a call, rgxcoach.com/explore. Reach out to us. Let's find out what you're doing, where you want to go. Just like I help students get there. Obviously, RGX is all about helping coaches get there. For the RGX coaches, make sure you log in. Monday Mastermind will be loaded up tonight. You can post questions in there. And most importantly, go and watch the videos inside of the scoring method. They're showing every step of the journey of Joey's every single coaching session. So you'll see from the intro all the way to where he is, the practice sessions that we did, what we implemented, so it really can help you on that journey. And then just make sure next week, come back, bring a friend, bring a fellow PGA professional, bring somebody that you know wants to take their business to the next level, wants to make sure they're getting better results for their players and impacting their facility. So everybody, make sure to go ahead and take these notes, put into action today, and I'll catch you next week. Thanks, everybody.